Howdy, world. Welcome back to our podcast. It is episode 29. 29. We've been doing this for a while. It's exciting. We have a cool guest on today. We've got Kyle. Your YouTube page is listed as Built Fast, and I see Hot Lap Kyle.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Awesome. So welcome to the podcast, the
Thank you.
RCR experience, and it's cool to have you on today and be able to chat with you. So thanks for joining us.
It's great to be here. It's great to be here with you guys.
So
Yeah.
your YouTube channel, you're doing very well on YouTube. You've got for anybody that doesn't know you, you're about 28,500 subscribers. You've
Yep.
published 370 videos. In the last
Yes.
30 days, in case you don't know, you've got 113,000 views in the last 30
Yep.
days, according to my program here. So
Yep.
doing
Yep.
very well. Awesome. So things are going well for you. Tell us about you, and tell us about your YouTube page and what you do and what all that stuff.
Yeah. So long story short, I design RC airplanes. It's something I've always dreamt of doing. And about a year and a half ago, I decided, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I downloaded a few other 3D printable RC airplanes, jets, and they were just really lacking. And they were overly complicated. They were heavy. They didn't
Mhm.
fly the way that I thought that they would. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it. And I'm gonna teach myself how to work with CAD software. And I want to design my own. And the rest is history. I started designing the files, and now they're all over the world.
Nice. So I see your newest. Like, how many have you done?
Oh man, I'm probably things you haven't even seen. I'm up over 50
Oh
designs,
wow.
but I think I have like 20 to 30 something for sale right now.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's
That's
cool.
crazy that you
Yeah.
just started. What'd you say, a year ago?
Two
No.
2 years ago, I started teaching myself CAD basically.
Yeah.
And it took about 6 months of grinding.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, this is not many people know this. I do this all on an iPad.
Wow.
Get out of
This is a
here.
very good iPad. This is like not like this is like I go every 6 months to get the best one. And
Wow.
yeah, no, it's all done on iPad, but it's Shaper 3D, and it's also other operating systems, but I just prefer the iPad. It's way more efficient, and yeah, it's 6 months of training myself and learning, and it's off to the races.
Dude, that's wild. I would have
Yeah.
expected you to say like you went to school for airplane design and like
No,
that is crazy. Because I've tried to teach myself a little bit of CAD and it's like you're a better man than I am because I gave up after a little bit. Like I could do some basic stuff, but like your
yeah.
stuff's crazy. Like that's
No,
nuts.
it's not easy, and to design an airplane in CAD is one thing, but then to get it to fly is
Hmm.
another thing, and then there's another layer of it. You have to get it to fly well. You have to get it to fly off gyro like an RC plane from the store. Like
Right.
it
Yeah.
has to fly well, or I won't release it.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's also the expectation from people who are buying your designs that it has to fly well, right? Like you're selling something. So
Yeah.
there's that pressure there too.
And I honestly think that that's the reason why my designs are doing so well, and they've kind of catapulted others, is
Yeah.
because I'm so transparent. And I release a video like multiple times a week of me just at the field, cameras on my head, and I am just doing like I'll do a minimum of 6 full unedited flights from the hand launch to the landing, no editing. I want you to see every little detail of how that plane flies before you pull the trigger and you pay $12, $13.
Yeah.
and
Right.
and you want to spend the time to download the file, print it, assemble it, and fly it.
So were you into RC airplanes and stuff as a kid, or did you just one day decide you wanted to be in RC airplanes and start designing planes?
Believe it or not, after college, so like 2006, I got my first RC airplane. It was a fun jet.
Cool.
And I put a 6S motor on it about a month after I got it. That was my first airplane.
Wow.
So I was going 180 miles an hour, and I just loved flying fast jets.
Right.
And And then I kind of I took a step back and I started doing the foam board builds from like RC Powers, if you guys remember that YouTube channel
Yep.
back in the early 2000s. That guy was great. So I was carving up foam board and making jets, and then that's why how I got into the jets. And then yeah, I just started buying like EDF jets and stuff like that, hot wire foam cutting, my own flying wings.
Very cool.
And then the 3D printer thing came out a couple of years ago, and I'm like, this is the way to go.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
with your plane designs, I'm just on the Cults 3D website here. So I went to your YouTube page. And there's
Yeah.
a link to the cults3d.com website. And I'm just looking through all your models here. So what for somebody just looking at this, what's kind of the limitation for a 3D printer that they would need? Like what kind of bed size, what materials are you using or suggesting to use?
Yeah, so the limitations are you're gonna have to print it in lightweight PLA, and that's
Mhm.
kind of the hurdle that I had a few years ago, where you can't just print it in the easy to print like PLA plastic
Yeah.
because it's just too heavy, it's brittle, it just won't fly. So it has to be active foaming lightweight PLA, and that's hard for some people. But Bamboo Labs is really the reason why this has exploded. The
Nice.
Bamboo printers, and then a couple others, the Prussias. There's a couple printer brands out there that are plug and play. You take them out of the box, you download my file, you put my part on your plate, and just hit print with a decent setting, and it'll print,
Mhm.
just like you see there. So, and build plate size, I would say the average printer is like an Ender 3, a Creality Ender 3, or a Bamboo P1S, P1P. That's like
Mhm.
220 by 220 by 220 millimeters. So it's about that big by that. And it, it's that's you can print any of my planes. Even I've even printed huge 90 millimeter jets on a 220, because the way that I design my planes, it's slicer generated infill.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I don't do any vase mode. I don't make intricate styles of prints. It's basically a solid body. If the part is too big for your printer, you can cut it in
Mhm.
half, print both halves separately, and then super glue it together, because your slicer is gonna make a wall where you made the cut. So you just
Yeah.
butt joint glue it together. So for people that don't understand, I'm just trying to make it simple.
Right,
And
right, right.
how are you hinging these things? So I'm thinking about like your Scout, the most recent one.
Yeah.
You've got videos on there. Like, what are you using for the hinges on the surfaces?
The hinges. So
Yeah.
every single thing on that plane is 3D printed. So sorry, there's a bug. The hinges are actually 95A TPU.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, TPU is a flexible rubberized kind of filament.
Yeah.
And I have the hinge material file along with every single one of my files you see there, where you just place it down on your bed, you put 95A TPU. If you have a Bamboo printer, there's a preset on there for it. You just print that thing out, and then you cut with scissors your hinges, you glue it in both sides of the control surface and stick it in, and it's just all CA
Wow.
glue.
That is super cool.
And then the control horns are printed out of regular PLA, so they print real quick and easy. They're very strong. They never break on me. So
Um, I don't. I'm a Bamboo guy, but I don't want to necessarily promote them on this podcast. But
yeah.
I know they've got. I've looked on their website. I haven't ordered any yet, but they've got like the Aero or the lightweight material. That's what you're talking about?
Yes. So the
Okay.
Bamboo Aero lightweight PLA
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
very good option, and they have a preset for it. I I don't use it because it's
Okay.
about 10% heavier than the stuff that I use. I use 3D Lab Print.
Mhm.
I buy in bulk, so when I ship it from Europe, I only pay $35 for like 10 or 12 rolls, or spools. So it's the Bamboo stuff is a tad bit heavier. It prints great. It prints
Mhm.
flawless, but it's just I can feel 100 grams on my plane.
Yeah.
So
Of course.
I can feel it in the landing. So I want it to be lightweight, especially like the DARPA
Yeah.
X65 you saw there. You that if that was printed in Bamboo, it probably wouldn't fly very well.
And
Mm.
Bamboo just came out with ASA Arrow, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yep.
Yeah,
I
that's
haven't
gonna be
tried it yet though.
yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Man, you got a lot of cool things on this. Like,
A lot. That's
wow.
why I wanted to have him on. I've been following him for a while and looking at like his designs and stuff. And I'm baffled. I'm seriously baffled by the fact that he's only been doing this for 2 years, because I swear, like, he's got like an engineering degree from like Embry-Riddle, like aeronautics or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
it's
I'll tell you
wild.
my first exposure to seeing somebody fly a 3D printed model in person. I haven't really looked on YouTube or anything for your stuff, so it's not really in my wheelhouse. It doesn't come up on my feed or anything like that. But I was at an
Yeah.
event about 3 years ago, and this fellow brought out I think it was a prop plane. I don't really remember, but it was all glued together, and it was kind of translucent, sort of. I don't know what material he was using. This is before I got
PLA.
into 3D printing. You probably, yeah. And I remember he took it off and it flew. And then as soon as he tried to land it, the thing just exploded into pieces.
Yeah,
And
PLA.
I was thinking, well, that's terrible, right? So that's really other than today, that's my last experience with this. So this stuff is mind blowing. When I saw your website
Yeah.
today and looked at your YouTube videos, awesome, very cool stuff.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I think as the materials get better, John,
Yeah,
I think it's going to play a bigger part in the hobby in the future.
yeah, for
I
sure.
really do. I think that was one of the downsides of the early 3D printed planes, was the PLA and being very brittle, and then light tumbles, they would shatter, and you have to go and print
Yeah.
a whole bunch of parts for the plane and stuff. But as Kyle said, the materials, I think, are going to get better,
Yep.
and that's going to affect that down the road. We were talking the other day, and one of the downfalls is he was talking about temperatures, like in the summertime, and
Yeah.
how, like, if it's too hot out, like, it'll start like getting flexy and bendy and
Mhm.
warping, and so there's still some downsides to it, right? I
Oh yeah,
mean,
I brought about 20 planes out to Flight Fest in Ohio, and it was super hot that weekend. And the day I got there, like within 5 or 6 hours, all my the wings started curling in the wrong direction.
Oh no.
I think one or two survived. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
But if
yeah,
they've got that new ASA material, that's going to be
Yeah.
leaps and bounds better,
it should
as long as it prints well.
it should
Yep.
be a little better for impact resistance. It should be a little bit better for temperature. It
Mhm.
should be. I've heard some people have had some good success with it, but printing it, I hear, is not like too much of a joy. But when the lightweight stuff came out, the foaming, the pre-foaming, people had a hard time dialing that stuff in too. It wasn't like
Yeah.
super easy to get that stuff going either.
Yeah, I
So,
actually gave up on it for a month or two. And then when I got the bamboo printer, everything clicked. I got
Yes.
a setup for it, and then I was off to the races, because I was having, like 13-hour prints fail on an Ender 3, and I
yeah,
was just like, this is crazy. This is just one part out of like 20,
it
and
gets
it
frustrating.
failed. So I'm like, this is crazy. So, but
Yeah.
it's totally different now.
Now, you don't recommend PLA for your designs at all?
The latest one, the Scout you saw right there, the trainer, that you might be able to get away with a very low infill, like maybe 2% infill, one wall. The problem is that PLA, once you go really low infill, it's going to be really brittle. It's almost going to be like a really thin glass, and
Right.
it'll crack so easy. Lightweight
Mhm.
PLA, believe it or not, is very resilient. It's twice as like crash resistant as PLA. It doesn't crack. I mean, it
Now,
cracks, but it just doesn't. It's just stronger.
the 3D lab print stuff, is that foaming as it prints, or is that pre-foaming? How does
It's
that fit?
active foaming. Yeah, I only use active foaming. I have never actually tried the pre-foam stuff on Amazon. A lot of my guys on my Facebook group, Kyle's Designs, I see them flying fantastic. They post their videos flying at the field with the pre-foam stuff. That's about 15% heavier, but it's better than PLA. It's somewhere in the middle of lightweight PLA and regular PLA. So the pre-foam.
It is a very active Facebook community too, by the way,
It
that you
is.
it's great. It's a great community that you've built.
Yeah.
Everybody's very nice. It seems like a lot of people share. There's no bashing. Like,
Yep.
it's a good community that you have in this group.
It is great. It's fantastic. I couldn't ask for better guys.
Right. And I if you're going to get into this, I suggest, especially if you're doing Kyle's Designs, joining the group, because there is a lot of helpful people in the group as well.
Yeah, just like any questions people have, you just post it on that group. That's the fastest way to get an answer
Right.
because, like I said in some of my videos, there are people on that group that have printed almost every single one of my planes.
Right.
So like they're all there to help. They know these planes inside and out, and yeah, it's a great group.
What about, so when you were testing and stuff, did you try Pet G too, or?
I never really ventured out. My buddy Chris, the moderator of one of my moderators of my Facebook group, or he is the only moderator besides myself, but he does a lot of like the technical stuff for like testing filaments and things like that. He's like an engineer. So he's the kind of guy that goes into like the settings of the bamboo. I actually run his settings that he gave me. So he's one of the members, good friend of mine. And so he really is he figured out a lot of the good stuff to use. And he ventures out with some other materials like the ASA and he even tried ABS for a couple times. But the lightweight active foaming, I'm kind of like set in my ways. I'm so used to it. It works.
Understood. Understood. I was just thinking,
Yeah,
Pet G has a little bit better temperature resistance than PLA does,
sure.
and it's also, though, there's a weight difference, like you were saying, between the PLA, the Pet G, and the lightweight PLA.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to. I have a roll of that ASA Aero coming. I'm gonna see what it prints like and try it.
Yeah.
It'll be
Yeah, I
interesting to
want
see.
to I want to print this little scope thing. That's really
It's a
cool.
little bit more expensive, the ASA Aero, than the PLA, the
Yeah.
Right.
lightweight PLA, but I mean, if it works better, that's, if you don't have to worry about your planes melting in the sun, then that will definitely be
Yeah.
worth it.
That's a huge thing, especially going into the summer. I mean, I'm out there every day, rain, shine, snow, ice. But when it gets hot, that's really my only limiting time is when it's like 80 degrees plus and there's
Hmm.
direct sunlight. You're in trouble if you don't have it in the shade.
There's so many people doing so many cool stuff with this stuff. Renee Rosenstrager, I can't
Yep,
pronounce his name.
yep,
He has done different things with testing, like one thin film of fiberglass and a little bit of
yep.
resin, and he's done different like strength tests to see, like, all right, can I just use resin? Can I? So it's definitely going to go further. I feel like
Oh
this is
yeah.
kind of like the beginning of this.
Well, I think that it's going to be like there's going to become someone's going to engineer a filament that is like a hybrid of maybe TPU, PETG. Like it's going to have all the right properties for like an aircraft, like an RC plane.
Hmm.
Right.
And that's going to give you like or maybe you can print the skin layer with something like the carbon
Yeah.
fiber and then all the other reinforcements. Like it's going to be like multi like types of filament. Like they already have like multi extruder printers and stuff like that, but like I just feel like there's going to be so much development in the next 3 years that's just going to blow us away.
Yeah. 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 TPU would be great, except it would be super heavy.
Yeah.
And it's a little too flexible for certain parts, but at
Yep.
least it would bounce off the ground without shattering.
Yeah, it would just it would bounce.
Yeah. I always worry about bouncing. I bounce my planes, so for
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
bouncing is very important. They gotta bounce. That's why I switched from balsa to foam.
Yep, yep.
Balsa doesn't bounce either.
The whole
They
thing
have
is
to have
weight. Like a lot of guys ask me, they're like, "Oh, can you make this like twin 70 or twin 80, twin 90?" I'm like, "Yes, I can." And when I first started, I made 90 millimeter planes. My Vigan was a monster. A 6S 90 millimeter, and I had to fiberglass the belly of it in order to belly land that because the material just couldn't withstand that weight
Mm.
landing.
Right.
So I fiberglassed the bottom of it and it flew great. I mean, but really the sweet spot is the 50 to 64 to 70 millimeter for 3D printed. Anything heavier than that, you have to wonder if it's going to survive that, even a regular landing.
Right.
So the
Right.
50 millimeters, like the Scout you see there, the A4, like any of my 50s, just I can have 30 to 50 flights, and that's saying something.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And then once you get into fiberglass and everything, and that's just adding more weight to it, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah, you're just weighing it down.
right, right. And at some point, too much weight, they don't fly great when they get too heavy. So,
Yep.
you know, that's awesome. So I know you're probably not allowed to talk about it, but you made a post on your Facebook not too long ago saying that somebody from DARPA or something reached out to you and congratulated you or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's really cool.
They told me, what I can say is I was allowed to tell my followers that I was contacted by DARPA. So you can see on the top right there, the DARPA X65. So
Right.
that's a like active flow control, like no control surface, like
It uses air for control surface. I've
it
read about
uses
it.
air, like, or it could be plasma. Like, it's really unknown, but it could be compressed air somehow. The air jets that, modify the air over the wings to control,
Yeah.
attitude, pitch, and roll. So I beat them to it. Basically, I saw their design. They're supposed to fly this thing this summer. And so I'm like, you know what? It looks really cool. It's really not that complicated. With the wing design. So I just like the way it looks. So I'm going to do it. And if I can just get it to at least glide like that, that's going to be awesome. So the video actually got a lot of views, and because I went through the struggle bus on that. Like, it was the weight balance of that thing. Now, if you look at that, you would think the weight balance would be 30% back from the front of the wing, right? 20%, 25, 30%. It's actually almost in the center of both wings. And
Wow.
I never would have thought that. I mean, I've made how many planes, and it just blew my mind. So it was so nose heavy. I kept throwing the thing, and it kept nosing in, nosing in. I'm like, and then I was like, okay, this is crazy. I'm just going to push the battery all the way back. And I chucked it, and it flew. And then when it actually flew, it flew so well that I'm like, what the heck is going on? So, like, people could sense that in the video that I got really excited. And
Yeah.
so on April Fool's Day, April 1st, I get an email while I just flew to Florida with my family. And I can't say who it is, but let's just say it's a very high up person at DARPA.
Right.
I got an email from him, and I think one of the lead guys, Wright Patterson Air Force Base, and they're like, "Hey, we wanted to congratulate on being first to flight. Congratulate you on being first to flight, and we loved your video. We thought it was fantastic. It flew great. Blah blah blah." And I'm like, this has got to be a joke. So now there were .mil email addresses. So I'm like, is somebody playing a joke on me? Because this is like too good to be true.
Right.
And
Right.
so I have a couple programmer friends that are like not hackers, but like a couple people that really know what they're doing. And I sent them the source code of the email, and they're like, dude, that's legit, like DARPA.mil email. Like it's no joke. So it was not an April Fool's joke.
That is great.
And no, they just love the video, and we went back and forth a couple times, and yeah, I might be able to go see it when it actually flies.
Oh, that's
Cool.
awesome. So, were you able to do the aero control surfaces, or did you do a regular control
No,
surface?
no, no, no. In the beginning of the video, I was like, guys, like I'm just a guy with a computer, like, and a 3D printer. I don't have the technology and the funding to do the active flow, control active,
It's
flow modifier.
actually a very cool concept. So I'm kind of a geek with some of that stuff when it comes out, and I read about some of the new drone designs and stuff like that. And it's actually a really cool concept. And it's basically like you were saying. So, like, instead of having ailerons or elevators or anything like that, there's going to be like little control jets at the leading edge of the wing, basically, that's going to shoot out air, and that's what's going to control the planes. When it wants to turn left, they're going to blast air. And from what I read about the design, that's kind of what I understood. That's how it's going to work. Like,
Right.
it's wild.
Right. And actually, I've actually haven't told anybody this but you guys. I did a test with the Scout, with an older design where I had the fan right behind the main wing, and it was blowing onto the rear control surface, and on the horizontal tails right there. And so I had constant air over that tail surface, and I purposely, I just wanted to play around with something. I wanted I pushed the CG basically so far back that it would never fly. But when the air was going over that control surface, and the rear tails, it was actually stable as could be. It flew fantastic. And then when I would shut the
Whoa.
fan off, the plane would literally tumble. It like Rob Holland in his stunt plane. So like it would just tumble, and then I would turn on the fan, and then it would fly dead straight like an arrow. So
Wild.
that goes to show that it's air modification over the control surfaces. If you have air constantly over control surface, it's going to keep that plane stable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely cool. Especially it's super efficient design that they're playing with. I mean, it's definitely going to be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how, like you said, how do they? I guess if I was designing it, like for like RC, you would probably have to have like a separate like inbuilt EDF that you could
Yeah.
turn on to do the control surfaces, right? Because compressed air you'd run out of eventually, right? Like,
What I was actually thinking is to do it like people like us being able to do it. I would put like two little 30 millimeter or four little 30 millimeter fans inside the wings and blow them down a tube or like little tubes, and it would have
right.
like a little manifold where you could control, but I don't know how you could. It would be such micro little tiny stuff that I don't know how you
Mhm.
would be able to stop the air from coming out and have it come out, like quickly. But blow that air over over the top of the wing, and I don't know. I mean, it could work. Little orifices.
It would be pretty cool to figure out. And then if you beat them to that, then that'll be it. They'll offer you a job at that point.
I did think about it. I'm like, I would really like to work for
I mean,
DARPA.
how cool would that be? 2 years ago, you decided to do CAD.
Yeah.
Now you're working for DARPA. I mean, come on. That would be a crazy story.
Yep.
So,
Crazy story.
so does the bat jet actually fly too?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, it does.
How does
I
it
watched
fly?
the video.
Well,
It doesn't. Okay, so it flies. It doesn't fly like a traditional airplane. So
okay.
you know how foam board planes fly, where you're basically a foam board will like kind of sit on the high pressure,
Yeah.
and it'll kind of like, it's when you stick your hand outside of a window, right, of a car,
Yeah.
and it pushes your hand back. Like certain planes, like foam board planes, will fly like that. And then the blunt edge on the foam board will create the tumble, and like so foam board, they fly a certain way, and then there's like an aerodynamic wing, an airfoil, where it actually creates real lift.
Mhm.
So the bat wing, it goes between those two different types of flight.
Hmm.
So it flies fantastic if you have to have a bunch of reflex, you have to have a bunch of pitch up in the elevator
Yeah.
or in the elevons in order for it to stay in the correct flight
Okay.
envelope. So, but it flies great. I mean, once you understand how to fly it, it'll fly just like any other RC, twin ADF.
Wild.
Yeah, that is a cool plane. It's wild. That was a cool video.
Yeah,
You
that was
got-
a crazy one. That was one of the ones that went viral. And the NGAD with the vectored thrust that was the most viral video. That got over 1 million.
Huh.
Wow. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Did we
Yeah,
lose
I make
everybody?
sure that I
We
show
good?
in there the deflection you need.
Yeah, you have some cool. What about the Nighthawk, the F-117? Because who was it? Banana Hobbies had an actual foam F-117, and it didn't. It wasn't that popular. It's a cool design, cool plane, but kind of like the kind of plane you kind of want to like hang from your ceiling or put on your wall and not
Yeah.
really fly because it didn't fly that great.
Yep.
How did yours end up flying?
It was kind of the same. The trapezoidal fuselage never works really well. The wings themselves, like the actual wing sweep and the shape and stuff, and then the V tails. Basically, it flies okay as long as you don't bank more than like 45 degrees. If you go inverted with an F-117, you won't get out. You're not getting out of it. 100%. You're stuck there.
That's funny. I think the real one kind of flies like that.
Oh yeah.
I listened to some testimonies from the pilots and stuff like that. There's some cool channels on YouTube
Yeah.
that dive into that stuff, and then the real pilots of the F-117 weren't like, this thing's an amazing flyer. Like, no, it wasn't that great of a flyer. Like,
Nope, it was just invisible. That's all it was good at.
they had a hard time skiing out of it. It didn't handle like a sports car. Like,
No.
yeah, not a great flyer at all. So I could see that definitely. Yeah, you've definitely created some really cool designs. Anyways, so what's your inspiration for, like, what makes you decide, all right, I'm going to design this plane? Like, do you just see a plane and you're like, that's cool, I want to design that? Or do you have like, I know you're into the jets mostly, like you said, you're
Yeah.
kind of getting into the jets.
Yeah, honestly, it's inspiration from things in the past, like the 1989 Batman movie with Keaton. Like
Best
that
Batman.
Batwing was it blew my mind because it was like, you know what? That actually looks like it's legit. Like
Right.
it could really fly like a jet could. They did all the things right, like the intakes, like the wing area looked about right. I mean, now I know. I wish there was more wing area aft of the airplane so that it would have a better CG balance. But so it's just really inspiration. Like I'll just go on a journey. Like I'll see like a YouTube video, a documentary about the like the U2 or like or like the B1, or I'll just watch stuff on YouTube and I'll get inspiration. I'll go into a rabbit hole, I'll do some research, and I'm like, I love that plane. I want to go make it. So I'll just sit down and design it and just go full on and try and get it flying.
You know,
Wow.
something just came to my head because you're talking a bunch of technical stuff, right? Now I know you sat down for 6 months and taught yourself CAD,
Yeah.
but you apparently know a lot about airplane design as well. So, like, what did you teach yourself about lift and drag and airfoil design? And was that another 6 month of?
So that was kind of the journey over all the foam board stuff. And
Okay,
when I say foam board, I'm most of it was hot wire foam cutting. So I was really into flying wings for a while. So I had a whole jig set up in my garage where with a big hot wire bow where I would actually slice like the insulation foam from Home Depot and I
right.
would make airfoils. And I'm like, you know what? I'm looking at these airfoils like the NACA airfoils, and I'm like, I want to try something different. So I would try all these different airfoils. And so I already had like a really good, fundamental idea of what they were going to do for an RC plane. And a lot of other RC designers, they go by the book airfoil design from like NACA stuff. Like they'll even pull the actual airfoil from an F-16 and they'll use that as the airfoil on an RC plane. And I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but that's
Because
not how RC planes fly well. I mean, that's a
no, it doesn't scale
supersonic
down,
airfoil.
right? Right,
Yeah.
That's a supersonic airfoil. That is not made to float around at an RC field.
right.
So if you want it to float, you're going to have to switch some stuff up. I mean, you're going to have to do some really unorthodox, strange things, and that's really and that's what I do. I just want my customers to have something that is going to land as slow. I call it a plop landing, where instead of like coming in and like greasing the runway, I basically go to zero airspeed. I don't want any wingtip stalls. I want it to just plop down in front of you like that.
Yeah.
That makes me happy.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. I modify the design to do that. And so yeah, I have no formal anything. I have all my own airfoil files. I don't use any NACA or any like published data or anything like that. Everything I do is just seat of the pants, and I have a bunch of sketches for different types of airplanes that I want to do, and I'll use certain air like that Batwing actually has a general airfoil shape to it. It's not perfect because it can't be, but
Right.
Mhm.
but it's a generic airfoil.
Huh.
No, it's you're definitely a knowledgeable guy, and you can hear it. That's pretty cool. It's
Thanks.
definitely pretty cool. What is NACA for the people who don't know what that is?
Oh God! Now you're putting me on the spot. It's like I don't even know what it stands for. North is it North American Aerospace something? I don't even know actually. I need Wikipedia.
All right, everybody, Google NACA after you're done watching this, and you'll find out what it
But
is.
it's basically the database with all the airfoils where you can look at pictures of all the different airfoil profiles. So
So there was you were saying you were into the foam wings,
mhm.
the hot wire ones. There was a guy who he just stopped doing it about a year and a half ago. Defiant Wings,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and he was starting to get into a bunch of different airfoil designs, and he was diving down the rabbit hole. And I actually have a couple of his wings, and I love them.
They
They're
fly well, right?
yeah, they're awesome. So and you know what, they take a beating too, but
Yeah.
um with his wings, same thing. And he actually published a bunch of his like data that he put up on airflow and stuff like that. With his wings, like similar to your wings, if you made them light and you didn't go crazy like with glue and weighing them down and everything, like you could just toss them lightly, they would take off and fly straight out of your hand, like perfectly. They're awesome. So when I want to have like fun and like take like a fast little foam wing out and rip around, like that's what I'll take with me because they're just so fun to fly.
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
speaking of flying wings, I just got the Horton wing flying, and that's one of my latest YouTube videos, and that's one of the most fun flying wing experiences that I've ever had. Was
Really?
that Horton? It's like a variant of a Horton 229. So it's just a beautiful airplane. I haven't gotten it to fly without a small tail yet, but I need to modify it, add some more nose weight, and maybe do some drag rudders.
It's actually one of my favorite real life scale plans. I think they
Oh yeah,
for the era, they were so
oh,
far ahead of their time
it's
that
crazy.
it was just such a design for back. And I mean, the real one they had it like half of it was built out of wood, like
Yeah, yeah,
crazy. Like you know what I mean? Like you'd
yeah.
never look at that and be like, that thing's made out of what? Like
So
I like to
here's the
yeah.
answer to your question. So before NASA, there was NACA,
Okay,
National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics.
There
NACA
you
okay.
was
go.
formed on
There
March
you,
3rd,
I wasn't even close.
1915.
thank you, John. I actually, as far as I don't know if you've tried one or not. Well, you don't do a lot of the foam wings now, right? Because you're basically building your own stuff. And
Yeah. Yep. I don't purchase anything anymore.
X Fly, which I'm sure it probably flies similar to the Horton. X Fly has the twin 40
Oh, the
millimeter
EDF. Yeah.
the EDF wing. I freaking love that thing.
Yeah.
I love it. It is such a fun flying little wing. It
Yep.
doesn't have any bad tendencies. Like
Yep.
it is an awesome little flying wing. Now I do wish that instead of twin 40s, they went to like twin 64s because
Mhm.
it struggles with the 40s on it and the thing
Okay.
screams at full throttle. It sounds like, it's a weed whacker going nuts, and it's it's so loud, like full
Yeah.
throttle. It's just this high pitched whine, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that if they built one a little bit bigger with twin 64s on it, it would
Yeah.
be an awesome design. But even that on the EDFs, like you're saying, it has some little vertical stabs on it
Yeah.
to level it out. Even Motion on their B2, they have a clear plastic vertical stab that
Yep.
it fixed, but they need that vertical stab to make it fly right.
You do. A lot of people, give me some hate on my YouTube channel. They're like, "Oh, you're not a good designer because you need a vertical stab." I'm like,
No,
really?
I think
Yeah,
even the Eclipson one has a vertical stab on it, right? I
it
don't know.
does.
It does, right?
It absolutely does. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, they
Like
all do.
you can't get around it.
Not really. No.
Even my
Well,
phone
you
flying wings.
can, but it takes a lot of work.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
so here's the limitation, and I know somebody that programs for Spectrum. Okay, so you're limited by the gyro system, and you need
Yeah.
drag flaps. You need the little duck flappers, and you need to have a gyro system that can have dual rudder, dual
Yeah.
gyro inputs, and have it do that yaw stability. And then you also need to have a really good stable flying wing with a lot of washout. And then you have other issues when you introduce all the things you need to make it stable, and then you need to do like, so long story short, it's very, very difficult. And for
Hmm.
the average Joe hobbyist, you're not going to want to program that
no.
Yeah.
to fly.
Put a little clear vertical on there and you're good.
That's
Yeah,
it. Yeah, just a
uses it
little
working
guy.
Yeah.
screw. Right, right.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Even
Kyle,
the
where's home for you? I'm curious because I see in your videos there's some snow on the ground.
Oh, northern New Jersey.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm not
yeah,
too far from Anthony. I could drive to
yeah.
him.
Yep,
Oh, nice.
we're pretty close, which is awesome.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh
we're
yeah.
both.
We get lots of weather here. I'm flying out there in 5-degree weather, 0-degree weather. Like
I've seen that. You're brave.
oh yeah,
You are brave.
almost every day.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna definitely be watching a bunch of your videos, but I'm curious, how does the Dark Star fly?
That actually flew. That exceeded my expectations.
Nice.
I still have my second one in the garage, and I pull that out when I want to impress people. I'm like, you saw the Maverick movie? Watch this thing fly, and it flies like
Cool.
it flies like if Motion were to release it with a
Yeah.
gyro, and I never flew it with a gyro. That was just all sticks, and it
Wow.
Wow.
floats. It flies fast. It flies slow. It's very controllable. That was a huge surprise.
Yeah.
Now, have you weighed your planes compared to like a foam plane? Are they similar as far as weight goes?
Not too bad, really. They might be like 15% heavier,
Okay.
possibly. So what I do is I'll make the whole plane smaller. If it's a twin 40, I'll make the whole airframe a little bit smaller, and
Right.
I'll cheat the wings maybe 20%. You can't tell visually that the F-16 has a larger wing than the real one does, but I cheat it a little bit so that it creates that little bit of extra lift, so it flies just like
Mhm.
a foam plane.
Hmm.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's what you've done in the amount of time that you've done it. It's impressive. It is.
Thank you.
Very.
It's very impressive. Absolutely. I swear, I'm baffled that you only started this not too long ago. See, look, anything's possible, people. You just got to put the work in. That's
And you
it.
have to be my dark secret is I'm literally obsessed. It's I would be doing this even if it wasn't a business. I would be doing this for just me,
Yeah.
So
What made you do the transition? Just you were putting designs out and people were like, "Hey, can I have that?" And then finally you were just like, "Maybe I could make this a little business for myself."
yeah, it was I made a Mirage 2000. So
Okay.
I made just a real simple Delta Wing Mirage 2000, and I have one of my favorite planes was a Fly Mirage. So that old foam Fly 90 millimeter success. I'm like, you know what? If I can get a Mirage to fly like that, I'm good to go. I'm gonna be the happiest guy in the world. And when it flew as good as the Fly, I'm like, okay, um, I gotta like distribute this to people. And then so I put it for free initially on Thingiverse, and it got a huge response. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna sell these things for like $10 or $12.
Mhm.
And where all the other designers were selling for 30, 50, like Renee sells his for 100.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna sell them for like $10. And I want more people to experience, if they crash it, they're not going to be out that much money. So yeah, that's what really started it. And I think my price point was also a big thing too with my customers.
Right. Right. No, it's awesome. It really is. This is cool stuff.
Yeah, it was like a dream come true. It's because it's my passion, it's my hobby, and now I get to do it, as a business. So
Yeah. And
Very cool.
you're doing multiple things too, right? You're not just doing this. You have a bunch of other businesses. You're a hustler. You're doing
well, the funniest thing is there's an engineering company right next to my flying field, and they walk around when they're on their lunch break and stuff. And a couple of them, one of the guys worked for Lockheed, and so he understands aerospace, and I was flying my vector only NGAD design, and so it doesn't have any control surfaces except for two little vector flaps in the exhaust, and he's looking at it and he's like, where did you get your engineering degree? And I go, I'm not an engineer. And he goes, well, what do you do? And I, at the time I was I was taking a lunch break. I have a carpet cleaning business. And so my carpet cleaning van behind me, and I point to my van and I'm like, I'm just a carpet cleaner.
Oh, it's funny.
But
That
no,
is
but
funny.
that's one of my businesses. I do have a design background. I have a business degree from college, and I've designed fitness equipment. I actually have a couple patents on some fitness machines, and I did that after school. And and I also designed some racing stuff, some like temperature sensors for racing cars,
Oh,
and
cool.
so, and then I always want to design and make things. So it's just a passion for me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That is definitely cool. You got that bug and you
Yeah,
just followed it.
100%.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, John, Kyle's starting to get into turbines, right? That's your goal is eventually.
Oh, I'm actually, yeah. So first of all, I'm very impressed with everything you do. I mean
Thank you.
that is crazy. I've seen your channel for a long time, and I've always wanted to fly a turbine, but in northern New Jersey, we don't really have a lot of friendly fields for
Right.
Yeah.
turbines in the area.
Right.
Um, so I I actually bought a turbine thinking it
Yeah.
would be easy for me to get my waiver, and just like, because I want to eventually, I have a couple designs in mind that I would like to fiberglass over after printing it and get it flying in. And I realized that the process of getting a waiver is really difficult. So I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
have to buy a beginner turbine jet. I got to get my waiver. I got to get a lot of experience in order for the field to be okay with me trying my own designs. And it's going to be like a whole headache.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a process. In here in Canada, it's actually like you could just go buy a turbine jet and you could fly as long as you're a member of our MAC, which is your guys' AMA, and you're a member of a club. So actually here it's very simple,
Wow.
which probably is a bad thing because lots of people don't get the necessary help, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, like down in the US, going through the waiver process and stuff is, yeah, it's a process for sure.
It really is. And so I have actually mapped out what I think I'm going to do, and I'll pass it by you. I found
Mhm.
a field about 45 minutes north of me that is turbine friendly. It's a big grass airfield with farmland all around it, so it's a huge field, and they have people there that are willing to help me get my waiver. So they
Nice.
have
Awesome.
good pilots there that are ready to rock and roll with me. So my issue is I don't want to buy some trainer turbine, because I don't like sport jets. I don't like the big huge trainer turbine planes that most people start out with, and I don't want to invest
Yeah.
5 grand into something that I'm going to have to put on Facebook Market after I get
Yeah.
my waiver.
Right.
So what my plan is, my buddy is selling a flex jet
Mhm.
from Flex Innovations, and I have a K55 G4,
Yeah.
and if it will fit in there with an adapter. And so, do you think that that's a viable solution to get
What's
my
the
waiver?
what's the recommended engine size for that plane?
A 45.
A 45. Oh yeah, you'll be fine.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that the Flex, I mean, I'll obviously run it with the Aura 8 or whatever good gyro
Yeah.
system that it's made for, and I'll make sure that it's set up correctly. But do you think that because it's like an F-16, F-18 silhouette, do you think that that's going to be too twitchy to get my waiver and to do my 30 flights and stuff?
Well, I think like just seeing the amount of experience that you have, I don't think you'll have an issue at all.
Okay.
Like you've obviously got the flying experience. And I was just commenting on one of my videos today. Somebody was asking my question about this, and there were a few years ago I did a video series, well, just a few videos on like getting into turbines and what to do. And one of the videos I did was talking about EDFs and how different it is. And somebody's like, "Wow, an EDF should help somebody learn how fast turbines fly." And it's really not. It's not about the speed. The speed is not really what it's about. It's actually about two things, is what I said in the comment. The first thing is the lag of the engine.
Yep.
So the engines are very fast now compared to what they were 15 years ago and even 10 years ago, but they're still like 4 seconds ish of lag, right? Which is
Wow.
doesn't it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a
Yeah.
huge amount
That
when you're
is a
used to
lot.
flying. Yeah, when you're used to flying gassers, EDFs, where it's like boom, you have power. It's
Yep.
very different. And then the other thing that people that I see from experience people struggle with is slowing down the planes and
Yeah.
getting them flying slow comfortably. So those are really the two things to be aware of. Yeah, just the turbine lag and being able to fly it slow. So when you do get your first few flights, what I work on with some of my guys that I help and teach and stuff is, go up, get the plane trimmed out, then put your landing gear down, put full flaps in there, and spend 3/4 of your flights just flying around dirty and
Yeah.
just feeling the plane out and feeling how slow you can get it,
Yeah.
is a safer thing to do. So,
Yeah, so with the lag you're
Right.
talking about, you're coming in your final approach, you're making your turn, and
mhm,
if you get too slow, you're in trouble, because that 4 second lag to get power
yeah,
back, to get air over the wing is like,
That's a
I can
lot.
see how that would be a problem.
Yeah.
But there's important considerations that some guys don't think about. So if they're flying a a sports jet, let's say, where you're maybe not, you don't have a lot of drag, and you're on your downwind final, and you
Mhm.
make your final turn, and maybe they're a little high, maybe they're a little fast, and they kill the throttle right down to zero,
Yeah,
and they're gliding in. They realize I'm a little bit hot. I'm going to overshoot the runway, whatever. When you're at idle, it's going to take 4 seconds. But if you're able to slow the plane down enough and fly slow, but fly it at like half throttle and then a
yeah,
quarter throttle as you're making your
yeah,
final approach, and never go till to full off until you're
yep,
actually ready to land. When you're a couple clicks above your true idle, the engine will spool back up in 2 seconds.
that makes
So
sense.
yeah, it's some of those little tricks that can make a big difference.
So
Wow.
throttle management is like super
Yeah.
super important. I've heard you talk
Yeah, and
about.
I've been doing, so the past two times I've gone out, I've been flying with my vectored thrust jet, and it's totally new for me. And the huge thing for me is timing. So I'm coming in, flicking to my vector on, trying to slow the plane down, going vertical, flicking to hover mode, and trying to let the plane slow down enough, but then trying to time the throttle where it actually picks up quick enough, right? So it's, yeah,
Yeah,
the throttle's the hugest, or the biggest struggle.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. That is definitely a consideration.
Expensive mistakes too.
It is
Yeah.
expensive. Yeah.
That's why I
But
can't do it.
that's the plan though, is to get
Nice.
the flex. I mean, it's manageable. It's small enough to fit, in the
Yeah.
back of the truck.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's not going to be the end of the world if it does, get hurt. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a huge investment, and it's
Yeah.
also a pretty capable aerobatic jet that I'm going to enjoy
Hmm.
myself with after I do get the waiver, and I'm going to want to fly it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
There's some
then
good.
my ultimate goal is the Carf J10.
Nice.
That's my ultimate bucket list type thing.
Cool.
There's some good deals out there on. I've seen some pretty good deals on Marketplace with some jets and stuff too. Like,
Yeah.
so you could come across somebody who got into it, or maybe got in over their head on a
Hmm.
turbine, and now they just want to recoup a little bit, and they're trying to get out of it. I've seen some pretty good deals on some stuff.
It's
Yeah.
funny you say that. I was looking over the past 6 months to get a beginner ish, what people recommend as your first turbine. And they were basically in the same process that I'm in, but they're just unloading that one because they're ready to get a new one. So it's
Right.
on Facebook
Right.
for $3,500, and it's one of these. I don't even remember the names of them, but they're super trainer ish. And yeah, there were a bunch of them, and I almost pulled the trigger on a couple of them, but like
Hmm.
I just don't like you're buying someone else's setup. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Yeah, there's benefits to it. There's downsides to it too.
Right,
It
right.
definitely can be cost effective. You can get a lot of good stuff for a decent price.
Yep.
I'd be a little wary about having the turbine checked out and everything as well, because you don't know like what somebody did to it. But
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, what's your favorite? What's your favorite plane, like all time?
Huh. Well, you'd have to think about like when you ask that question, there's like categories. There's
Right.
like the 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 best RC experience that I've ever had. My favorite flying plane. Um, like out of the fighter jets, I would say the F-18 just has something special about it. Um, the cool factor. I'm just talking about the NGAD, the vectored thrust only, where I had no control surfaces, just the vector only, little flappers. That was probably one of my favorite planes I've ever made.
Wow.
Um, and then having my son fly the little Scout. I mean, he's 8 years
Nice.
old, and he flew the Scout around last night, 2 flights, and that was special. Having him fly that
Yeah.
thing and have it fly literally as good or better than an Aero Scout. I mean, it was just so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. What about you, John? What do you've been through your bucket list of planes. So what do you anything new since the last time we talked?
Oh, well, my Picaro's sitting right over there. Those are in the queue right now. So we're working on twin Picaros. That's going to be my new speed jet. So I got one for me, one for David.
Nice. The
And yeah,
P-47, right? You're working on the P-47.
47. Yeah, that'll be, I'm going to be doing that probably later this year. And I'm going to be working on the P-47 and my Corsair at the same time, which is cool.
Cool.
So yeah, F-15's done.
I've
So,
actually gotten through. I haven't had a chance to do anything. I haven't flown, and I'm literally gonna hang myself one of these days because I need to get out there. It's bad. I'm like itching, but I've gotten through. I had a bucket list of planes that I wanted for myself, and
yeah,
I've actually been slowly getting through, and it just happened like out of nowhere, like just happened. So I got the P-38 from Motion, which was on my bucket list.
yeah,
I got that off Facebook Marketplace, stole it for like $200, and it was like
nice.
really clean. Like
Wow.
it's a nice plane. Yeah, it's a good sized plane. I got the Carbon Z T-28. That was on my bucket list. Then I got the A10 from FMS. Was any A10, any larger A10 was on my bucket
Yeah.
list. And then Motion came out with that gorgeous A10, which I can't bring myself to spend $700 and something on a foam airplane. It's gorgeous. They did a really good job with that plane. They
Yeah,
really
it
did.
looks nice.
It's a nice plane. It's got the lights in it. It's got nice
Yeah.
landing gear. It is a really. I'm not knocking it at all. It's just
I've flown it. I've flown one a few times, and it's pretty cool.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jealous. It's nice. It's a nice plane. So I've been
For a
pretty
foamy,
lucky.
for a foamy, it's pretty cool.
I know.
For a foamy.
It's not a turbine. It's not worth 30 grand flying in the air. I get it. I dream small, buddy. I dream small.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been lucky. I've been knocking off. So now I just got to find some time to fly them. It's like you got to get out there. I'm struggling.
Yeah, that's a rough one. Our honestly, our weather sucked lately a ton. Like I was out on Friday. Previous to that, it was 6 weeks before, like since we went out last. So it's
Yeah,
been nuts.
it's kind of like the same thing here. It's like we're actually me and my wife were talking about that like yesterday. Like it was 50 something degrees this morning. Like
Yeah.
it's June. Like
Yeah,
it's supposed to be like a lot nicer, and like the weekends where like all right, I can actually have some time to fly. It's like been super duper windy, so it's like
yeah, that's us
like,
too. The wind
I-
has been mental.
like crazy. So it's like all right, it's actually like a nice day. It's not too hot, right? Because that's
Yeah,
the other part of it. Now we're getting into the time where it's like all right, standing out. I actually got heat exhaustion one day doing like a full day. Like I'm
Mhm.
off the grid. I'm just flying all day. And it was like a really hot like August day, and I came home and I was like dizzy. I was puking. I'm like, what
Oh,
is
no.
this? It was heat exhaustion from being out in the
Yeah.
field all day.
Yeah,
So
Wow.
it's the weather temperature wise is great flying weather, right? You're not hot, you're not cold,
Yeah.
but the wind
Yep.
is or the rain, it's just brutal. So
Yeah, the wind has been bad.
yeah,
Really bad.
yeah. It's
For me to
when-
get in test flights, I have to like check my wind app and find like that window where it's under 20 miles an hour and get
Yeah.
out there. And like I drive right to the
Oh
field.
my gosh.
yeah, it's brutal. It really is. And you're constantly so like you need to do that a lot because you're constantly like flying. So
Yeah.
it's definitely probably killing you, right? Like
Oh my God. Like last resort, I just have to wake up at like 6 o'clock in the morning and
Yeah.
just hope that like you have a 50-50 shot that like at sunrise it'll be low wind, even though it's
Yeah.
supposed to be windy that day.
right.
So you have a good shot at it, and I'll just go.
You might get an hour of no wind, right? And then
Right.
boom, it starts. Yeah.
Yep.
Nutty. It really is. Well, Kyle, thank you for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. We're right about an hour, a little bit over an hour.
No, it was great.
I think I told John I was like this is going to be one of the cooler episodes, and and not saying for anybody who's been on the show that they weren't all cool episodes.
No, I think this is
Yeah.
a big eye opener for lots of people, including myself. Like seeing
Right.
the technology that that's gone into this, and like your design, Kyle, is it's awesome. You're doing a great
Thank you.
job and cool stuff that lots of people. Obviously, I see there's been like 7,000 downloads from your site there, and that's pretty impressive. That's a lot of designs and planes that people have built. So
Yeah,
very cool.
it's been
Me
great.
and Kyle were talking about this the other day, and I really think this is that bridge between stick building balsa planes
Yeah,
and just buying a foamy at the store,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
Like I really feel like that's that stopgap right there. That's gonna
Totally.
make people who would normally be like, all right, I'm gonna build a stick build and it's gonna take me a year to do it. Oh well, now I can actually have some fun, build something, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not gonna take me 2,000 years to do it, and it's relatively cheaper, So I do.
Absolutely.
I think it's definitely, and Kyle's one of the people who's pushing it forward. So I think it's
Yeah.
awesome.
cool.
So,
Yeah,
all right,
I'm
gents. Kyle,
Thanks,
I'll talk to
guys.
you soon, buddy. John, I will talk to you soon as well. We'll have another
Sounds good.
episode coming out in a couple of weeks.
Awesome.
that's
Have a
it.
good night, guys.
Have a good night. Talk to you
Take
guys soon.
care. Thanks.
All right, goodbye.